Greetings from chess.com. Welcome to round 11 recap of the Tata Steel chess. You can see the results that Aryan Thari and Van Forest Jordan won their games, and a disappointing day for Indian fans as Indian star Hari Krishna lost his game. So we'll check with the game first. Jan Forest Jordan was white and Hari Krishna was black. It's an Italian game in which black got this position after knight g4, and according to Van Forest Jordan, knight takes f2 kind of trick doesn't work in this particular position because the bishop is on c5. For it to work, the bishop should have been on a7 because there is no intermezzo d4. So you will know what I mean. In this position, white has d4, and after d4 he takes the knight, and after d3 bishop d3 f g4 he has knight d4, and white is a piece up. After knight d4 c4 bishop d4, for a moment it looks like black's pieces are very active, but it's only temporary. And the side, Jan Forrest Jordan was a piece up, so he was able to consolidate his position and maintain a very good edge throughout the game. So in this position, obviously we can't, as black, we can't really trade bishop because every exchange helps the player who is ahead in material. So bishop e5 happens. In this position, black managed to even activate his rook with rook b8 b5. Even then, it was not enough to pose a lot of problems. So in this position, he simply held the position strongly and got his rook to a2, defended f2. Bishop is doing a great job doing that. And at one moment, Jordan decided to transform his advantage by sacrificing a piece. So it was not really necessary, but he decided to do it because it gives him an opportunity to exchange of the rooks, and which is good because he is ahead in material. So he gives up bishop into c5 and then exchanges the rook, and he has this very nice advantage. He's a pawn up, and also the black queen on h3 is slightly misplaced. So considering these factors, he built his advantage, and one nice tactical moment is a position after queen, let me get that position, after queen takes b3. See if you can spot the tactical shot. It's very easy. There is a pin here. Taking advantage of the pin, there is queen takes h6 and white is winning. So even a check like rook c1 is not dangerous because king g2, and if necessary knight can also come to f2. So white is never in danger in this position, and later he went on to win. So kudos to Van Forest Jordan. He's just half a point behind Anish Giri, so has good chances in the tournament. Now let's check the game between Magnus Carlsen and Anish Giri. So this was also an Italian game, and this was with pawn to b4. So the thing about Italian game is that though it seems like it's very easy to play, there are certain nuances and intricacies connected with where white develops his pieces. Sometimes this knight goes to d2 f1 g3, sometimes white plays for the d4 pawn break, sometimes white develops the bishop first and then gets his knight, sometimes white gets knight to a3 c2 and e3. So this Italian game is so rich in ideas that you get to learn a lot about chess just by studying the pawn structures connected with the Italian game. In this game, white decided to go b4 and knight d2, and then after d5 bishop b3, bishop g4, queen c2. In this position, while I was looking at the game live, commentators were saying that d takes e4 is a move you would not like to make because then this bishop on b3 becomes a monster. But Anish Giri decided to do it nevertheless. After d takes e4, white has a tiny edge because of this bishop. And there was a moment in which Magnus Carlsen said that he had slight edge. For example, after bishop e7, he should have played b takes c5, and after bishop or queen takes c5, of course queen takes c5 because f6 is hanging, then knight g3. White has this nagging edge because knight f5 could come, and this knight cannot really move. h4 h5 could come. So there are different ways in which white could pose problems to black, and it is not clear what agenda black could hold in this position. So white definitely has slight edge, or let's say it's a practical advantage, and this is the kind of position that Magnus usually prefers playing. So knight j3 was dubious because then black gets c4, and this shuts the bishop from that important diagonal. And after that, Anish Giri had no problems to facilitate exchange of pieces, timely exchanges I would say. And then he also activates his dark square bishop. He gets it, I think, via d8. Yes, and then they repeated and the game ended in a draw. So that was a good result for Anish Giri, who continues to be in the lead in the tournament. There are still 2 rounds to go. Let's go with the next game, which is filled with a tactical shot. This is a game between Ali Reza Firouzja and Fabiano Caruana. Again, they reached an Italian game. So in this Italian, again you see they have white is using a different approach this time, going rook e1, not playing b4, and then getting knight to d2, and something similar happens here, but it's actually different. I mean, uh, every move has certain pros and cons in this position. Now you see, because the bishop is on b5, black gets a free f5 break, unlike the other game which I mentioned earlier. So here white got d4 and then knight f1, and here after a very nice move by Caruana, black is actually equalizing. Take a moment to see if you would like to make a move for yourself, what you would do as black. Yes, it is d5, and in situations like this, if black gets d5 comfortably, we can safely assume that black is doing very good. And after ed5, the point is to play e takes d4, and after h3, knight f6, knight d4, knight d5. White's position is slightly awkward because of this rook here, and black is, every piece seems to be very happy with where it is. For example, this knight is doing great job. The queen is very much ready to come to the king side. The bishop could also come very much to h3 if necessary, like it could just sacrifice itself. So in this position, after knight df4, it seems like black has a very promising position. Yes, definitely. But in this situation, Caruana spent a lot of time considering knight g2, which unfortunately doesn't work. So he realized that during the game that it didn't work, but after the point is, after knight g2, king g2, if you play knight h4 check, king h1, bishop, or let's say queen d5 check, there is f3, and let's say you play bishop h3, white simply has knight h2, and this knight is doing a great job defending the white king. As they say that the knights are always a good defender, so their knights are usually good defenders, and it's clear from this position also. So nothing concrete for black in this variation. So knight g2 doesn't work, but after c6, bishop c4, actually this is the moment in which it actually works. So instead of bishop c4, white should have played bishop e2, which is what he should have done, but he played bishop c4. Now knight g2 is working. The point being that after king takes g2, you play queen h4, attacking the pawn on s3, and if white goes queen f3, then you have knight e5 attacking the queen again, and you see the bishop is also attacked. So if the queen moves to, let's say, e2, then you can simply take bishop into d4, bishop into d4, and then queen s3 followed by knight f3. It's game over. So this was a way to go forward, but did not work during the game. So now if you ask me, what if knight g2, king g2, queen h4 directly, then there is simply king g1, and nothing much is happening. If you play, let's say, a move like bishop into s3, white can play queen f3 and is fine. But the same cannot be said after, let's say, bishop c4, because now after knight g2, king g2, queen h4, king g1, black can play c5, and this bishop on c4 is hanging. So that's the whole point. So yeah, that was one good chance that Caruana missed in the game, but later he was in danger. It was an intense game, as Ali Reza put it. So there was a point in which after rook e4, he played queen g6, missing knight f5 after bd5. The point is, you can't really take the knight because of rook e8 check. So this is the point which Caruana missed. And after knight f5, he felt that he was in a lot of pressure, but objectively the position is fine for him. And then later they went into a position where Caruana was in danger. I'll go to that one. And yeah, this was the position. You can see that white has 5 pawns, black has 4 pawns, plus black has an exposed king. So it seems like white should be clearly better. Yes, he is, but he should play rook d3 to exchange of the rooks according to Caruana. But here Firouzja played c4. This is the moment in which I think black got a lot of chances, and Caruana also mentions that. And now after rook d4, queen e5, black is back in the game, and it's no longer that easy for white to convert this. So later, after a few moves, Caruana was able to salvage a draw because of the counterplay, and then the game ended in a draw. That was a great fight. Let's check with the game between. Let's check the other game, which is Aryantari versus Esipenko. Now Esipenko has been doing great in this tournament, and we have another Rai Lopez here, but the flavor is almost Italian. We'll go to that position. So it's a sounds Maestro system where black gets g6, or you can also call it the Stinid's way of playing. Here he goes with d takes e5. The point with d takes e5 is black usually has this bishop on g7 and can't really do much unless you get f5 break. So that's how that is the reason white plays d5 to play against this bishop. One of the ideas also is to get this knight to d5. So once this knight comes to d5, white has this nagging pull that he usually gets in such positions. So he goes knight f1 and knight e3 because he's anyway going to d5 and he gets it. And after knight e6, Aryantari plays a very nice move. He plays h4. And if you're able to play a move like this, it means your position is very comfortable, very cozy. And after h5, he played bishop e3 and then b4 and queen e2 and then gets his rook. So it's much easy to play as white in this position. That is the reason white is better, because white has these comfortable moves, bring the pieces to the center and then see what black does. And black is usually black usually has a lot of difficulty in coming up with a plan. If he's not getting f5 comfortably, he's actually worse. After queen e2, knight c8, c4, c5, he built his advantage slowly and outplayed his opponent. The tactical shot comes here after f5. It's a good moment to see what you would do as white. The correct move is ef5 followed by knight g5, and after knight g5 there is edge g5, and black Esipenko played f4. This is a critical moment again. If you play this move, you get a big advantage. If you don't, then chances of getting an advantage decrease. Yes, the move is rook a8. Because the queen is protecting h5 pawn, it makes sense to decoy this queen. If the queen goes to f7, there is simply knight takes f4, again attacking the queen. If the queen goes to g6, then there is rook takes f8, bishop takes f8, and bishop into b5. So the queen is also protecting the knight. This is something you must note. So here after rook a8, queen g6 happened, and after rook f8, bishop f8, he simply played bishop d2, and after knight a3, just bishop d3, and after queen g5, Aryantari played a move and opponent resigned. So what would you do as white? Simple again, threaten a mate with queen e4, and after queen g7, white can play bishop c3 and the pawn on e5 cannot be defended. So here black resigned. So those were some of the critical moments from the games that I had picked. So what are the tips that I would like to give? So in this game, I would definitely say that in these 4 games that we saw, it was very important to understand where the pieces belong. So in any openings that you play, I would suggest that you know where the pieces belong in that opening, what kind of pawn breaks are there in that particular opening, so that when you are actually in the transition from opening to middle game, you actually know where to place your pieces. So study that. Pay special attention to how players play when their opponents make dubious moves in the opening, and study some classical games of pertaining to these pawn structures, and that will, I think, help you to improve your understanding. Let's look at the standings. Right now you can see that Anish Giri is on 7.5 out of 11 and is leading 2 more games to go. There are no rest days now. So tune in today at 6:30 p.m. on chess.com/TV for the live coverage. And here are the pairings. Today Harikrishna will be playing against Donchenko, and Anish Giri will be playing against Firouzja. That will be, I think, a very exciting clash. And Magnus Carlsen will be playing against Wojtaszek. Again, that also will be very exciting to watch. I am very excited to see how things will move from here, and I hope you are as well. I'll be back with another video soon. Until then, take care. Bye bye.